friends, welcome back to my channel. It's Tori. So this is a book that I have been saying I was going to read for way too many TBR videos. It got a little ridiculous. That is The Blade Itself by Joe Abercrombie. That is The Blade Itself by Joe Abercrombie. It's Tori, and today I'm going to be sharing with you guys my TBR and MBR for the month of November. I know you guys are laughing at me right now because how many of my TBR videos has this book been on? In 2022, I think this was my most TBR'd book that never got read. I finally can say that I have read and finished The Blade Itself by Joe Abercrombie. And I knew that I wanted to vlog my experience with this book for you guys, and I had a great time doing it. So I hope you guys enjoy the vlog as much as I enjoyed filming it. I will see you back here after the vlog is over. I'm really nervous. I'm really nervous to start this, you guys. In fairness, I have read the prologue already. And after that, it's completely new charted territory, so...
If I take one more step, it'll be the farthest away from home I've ever been.
Here we go. Well, I got to the end of The Blade Itself, so I just want to say that this has been a great experience. Thank you guys for watching. I hope you enjoyed the vlog. All right, I'm back already. I'm through the first paragraph and I have something to say. So I'm already loving the fact that the first thing that I learn about Logan, other than the fact that he's obviously fleeing from something, I think, is that he is a klutz because he falls and almost, it says, he stumbled and sprawled onto his side, nearly cut his chest open with his own axe. Sounds like something I would do. All right, I just finished the prologue, and here's what I want to say. I love an action opener. I absolutely love an action opener. But action openers only work if you get a good helping of something to kind of ground and care about. Because otherwise the stakes, right, aren't really there. Because you don't really care what the outcome is. So what I really liked about this prologue is that with this action opener where we're getting to meet Logan in medias res of him running away from things and, you know, trying to survive, is that it also gives us just enough of Logan's personality and character to say, okay, I'm invested, I don't want him to die, which is great. I appreciate that. Well, gosh dang it, I already care about Glokta. I want to know more of his story. Everyone told me, you're gonna love Glokta, you're gonna love Glokta. And you know how that goes sometimes when enough people tell you you're gonna love something, that you kind of internally start resisting it. And he's the kind of character, I can already tell, that when you like the character and you're rooting for them, you have to stop and be like, does this say something about me as a person? I'm sitting in my front window seat and watching the kids as they're playing outside in the front yard. And I can see what people mean when they're talking about the world building or the plot being really light, because I am definitely having a hard time like envisioning the environment that we're in. I'm obviously getting some general world building hints from this kind of inquisition that Glokta is in. I'm still piecing that together. The characters are coming through really strong right now. It actually took me off guard, I think, when Logan, there was some kind of magic elements with the spirits and that he can kind of sense things around him in the forest. So I'm assuming it's a soft magic system, and it kind of took me off guard for a minute because it just kind of felt weird with the tone of everything else. I was like, oh right, this is a fantasy, there's magic. There was a great quote on page 41 with Jezal that basically said Jezal was not going to miss out on doing something fashionable just because he didn't like it. And I thought, you know what, that's a great way to introduce a character. Says a lot. Okay guys, so it's like midnight right now and I'm awake getting a little snack of some kind because insomnia things. I've met Jezal and I just got to the part where he has a run-in with Glokta. Now, something that I always love in books is when we have multi-POV characters and then they meet, even if it's something brief like it was here. I wasn't sure how I was feeling about it until this chapter. Glokta, this is the first time that I've seen him really in action with the torturing, and yeah, he's a really interesting character. And he just revealed the teeth thing. I don't know how to say it other than it's not something I was expecting, and it definitely gave me a chill. And just this idea of he's starting to really start to take physical shape in my mind so I can see him. Jezal, I'm still waiting on a little bit. Logan, I have a little bit more of an idea. I'm gonna have a really hard time not just seeing him as Wolverine for a little while, but we'll get there. I don't know what's going to happen, but so far I'm not mad about it. So that's where we're at now, and I will give you guys an update again soon. I'm coming out here really quick to give you guys an update. I got to page 110, I think. The chapter with Jezal and Artie made me laugh out loud multiple times. They are hilarious. They're hilarious. Jezal needs an attitude adjustment. It is not super common for me to laugh out loud at books, and I did 3 or 4 times during that chapter, so well done, Joe Abercrombie. Glokta just continues. Like, I'm almost mad about it, about how much I am liking his character and loving his characterization. It's so good, and I know everybody told me that, but I was so determined to, like, okay, but it can't be that good. All right, fine. I'm really liking it so far. I'm having a really hard time putting it down, so I'm definitely in the I'm invested stage. But I will say what surprised me a little bit is that Logan's POV is probably the one that has gripped me the least at this point, which surprises me because he's an archetype that I do tend to like. One of the things that's going to help is now that he's around some other people and I can see him interacting with, you know, the young boy that he saved and brought back to this like fortressy thing. And now that he's met Baez, that's really helping because I'm liking seeing him more interactive and stuff. And Baez is very interesting. I'm already invested in who this man is and what he's doing. So anyways, that's where we're at. I'm gonna try and bust through a bunch more of it tonight and we'll see how far I can get. I have some thoughts to share with you guys. I officially finished part 2 of The Blade itself, so I'm getting through it. So one of the things that really surprised me was Joe Abercrombie going back to Logan's group of guys. And it surprised me, but I actually really liked that he did that. I liked getting a chance to see, obviously not only that they're alive, but also getting a chance to kind of see the personalities of the men that Logan had been traveling with and that he was leading. So that was really cool. This is Minnesota for you. So it was like 80 yesterday, really hot outside. And now it's back down to like 40 degrees. And I'm really glad that I'm wearing my beanie today. But anyways, the other thing that I want to talk about a little bit is the magic system in this is so incredibly soft at this point, which I'm not necessarily mad about because like I've said before, magic systems are they don't really make break books for me. I'm definitely interested to see, I'm hoping that either in this book or in the trilogy as a whole, that Abercrombie kind of explains a little bit more about it. I don't need to be, have the entire rule book spelled out, but it would be kind of nice to know there's clearly different hierarchy of power levels, with Baez being able to turn things into an inferno, which is a thing that happened. Glokta is a character right now that I am really impressed whenever an author can evoke that many different emotions from me as the reader in one character. I pity him, which he would hate. I also find him strangely endearing, and yet also chilling and mildly repulsive at times. But I also really care about him and like don't want, it's really weird to say that about a torturer. I don't want anything bad to happen to him. I don't know what this book is doing to me. I'm still wanting now a little bit more from, I think we've kind of shifted where I want more from Jazal now. Like I want a little bit more of him in a different environment or in a different situation or something. I'm not sure. But overall, enjoying it immensely, and I will pick back up with you guys when I have read some more. I just met Pharaoh Malgin. I was really surprised when her part came up because I have literally never heard anyone mention her name when I hear about the characters in this book. But for me at least, that intro was not necessarily my favorite. Obviously, there's a past history and all of the things there that we don't know yet. I'm curious to see why she's in here and honestly how all of these storylines tie together, because there's been some little moments with Jazal and Glokta where they kind of run into each other, but they're in the same city. I just wanted to say that, but I'm hoping to get to at least page 300 by tonight and then keep going tomorrow. So I'm gonna go live for some reading sprints. I'm almost to page 300. Logan's been growing on me as I've been reading the book. I got to the chapter where he goes to Adua, the big city, for the first time, and his reaction to the city was like kind of that last little shove for me to really love his character, because as a rural farm girl, I went to New York when I was in my early 20s. The relatability of Logan's experience going to this metropolis and just feeling like there's so many people and it's so much after he's come from this like wide open spaces kind of place or forest. You know, he's acting like a giant child from, I mean, again, this is from Jezal's perspective, so take it with a grain of salt. But in a sense, he's just like, you know, completely fish out of water in this city. Sometimes I think fantasy characters, once they've, you know, been built in a certain archetype, they stick in that one note too much. And I really appreciated Logan's kind of wide-eyed, like, what is a pipe? Jezal and Glokta's interactions I've really liked so far, but I'm really excited to see Glokta and Logan interact, and I'm assuming that's going to be coming up shortly. I'm hoping. Pharaoh. And I hesitate to say too much about this because I know, for all of you that are going to say this in the comments, I know that Joe Abercrombie has already addressed how he would go back and change her character. I can totally understand why. I feel like compared to the other POVs, she feels incredibly flat as a character. There isn't really a nuance there. It's just, she feels like a 2D character in a 3D world, if that makes sense. I like R.D. West's character way more than I like Pharaoh at this point, and I am really curious to see how and if that changes at all. As you guys can see, I'm getting really close to the end. I'm almost to page 400. So I have some things to say. The magic system and the plot in this are very vague. I can completely see why people say that this is all character and no plot. The character work in this is brilliant. It's brilliant for the most part. However, The book feels so much slower than it actually is because the plot feels very nebulous. Like, I know theoretically that there's this war happening between these kingdoms, and I know that there are certain things happening in each character's POV. It's so nebulous. So it feels like a slower book than it actually is, in my opinion. I'm definitely on board with Logan now. It took me a little bit to really, I think, settle into his POV, but I really like him, and I really, really like that Abercrombie is going back and showing us the perspective of his crew a lot. I've really liked the addition of them every so often here. Jezal and Artie are, I don't hate it, and I think it's really funny that part of what we want, you know, when we meet Jezal and he's just this brat, right? He's a spoiled brat and he has a lot of prejudices, and there's a part of us that wants him to have an awakening. We want him to have a reality check so that he can do better, right? He's starting to notice things about himself that he wouldn't have known without... My kitten is being a little crazy. Hi. You want to say hello? Also, Glokta, don't treat this ancient librarian dude like... I was more mad at him about that than I have been about anything else in the book. I was like, books and history are important, Glokta. This old man deserves your respect. Shape up here. Pharaoh is not my favorite. I'm really having a hard time with Pharaoh. I want to kill this guy, and then I want to kill this guy, and then I want to kill this guy, and then I want to kill this guy. And that's like the only thing I'm getting from her. And I get that she's had a bad past, or like things have happened. She's seen some stuff. But I don't really care, and that sounds horribly harsh. But because I'm not getting the nuance from her, I just kind of like I'm struggling through her chapters. I will say that Abercrombie is excellent at writing intense character, like, it's hard, I don't know how to describe it exactly, but those moments where characters are in internal or external peril, especially internal peril, he's very good at writing the internal. And that dream with Glokta was really intense and really good. So I just wanted to pause briefly and say that. Hey guys, so let's talk about that duel. I was really impressed by the way that Joe Abercrombie subverted what I was expecting. Because usually in a duel like that, in a fantasy book, you have either the hero wins against all odds and, like, you know, the big, scary, tough guy gets beaten, or the big, scary, tough guy teaches a lesson to, you know, the hero character. Like, I'm saying hero very loosely for Jezal because he's not, but you get what I'm saying. So I was really intrigued by the fact that Baez was using magic to alter the duel, because I'm not entirely sure why he would do that yet. Now I'm like, okay, the intrigue is starting to really make me curious. What is Baez doing? What is his end game? What's going on? So very excited to see more of that. I am now out on my walk for the day, and after that I am definitely going to go straight in to finishing up the last section of this book. So Logan just ate a flower. I love him. He's great. Yeah, I'm definitely on the Logan bandwagon now. That was excellent. So there are some things. Major West getting really violent with Artie felt like it came completely out of nowhere. Like, I get that they don't have the strongest relationship and that Major West is under a lot of stress, but I felt like that was a major jump for his character. Like, I can see him like a mild version of that maybe based on what I know of his character up till this point. But honestly, that just felt like a lot out of nowhere. That one was a tough sell. I'm not sold on that one yet. I do really like Artie's character a lot. She's definitely a character that I think is, for the most part, done really well. I will say that the conversation between Glocta and Major West, I really, really liked it. Yes, this is an old friend that he's specifically talking to about experiences that they shared and like what happened when Glocta was taken. But in a way, it's Glocta kind of speaking to all of the people from his past represented by Major West for the first time in the book, if that makes sense. Like, he's letting some of that out. But I really, really, really liked that conversation and how we got a little bit of Glocta's composure slipping and his, his anger and his hurt and his all of the things coming up. Coasting toward the end of the book now. We'll see how it goes. I had help, as you can see. I have a hello. Are you being cute? Hi. So Pippin and I just finished The Blade itself. I don't even know where to start with my thoughts on the end of this book. I feel like I need to sleep on it and then give you guys, record my actual thoughts in the morning once I've had a chance to kind of percolate a little bit on what just happened. The ending of that book suddenly got very fast-paced after feeling very slow, and some things came out of nowhere. So yeah, I'm going to put this down. I'm going to sleep on it. I'm going to think about it, and I'm going to film my final thoughts tomorrow. And we're back. So I have now had a good amount of time throughout today to percolate on how I feel about this book. So this is one of the downsides of my immediate reactions to the books, is that I don't have a ton of time to really percolate and let it sink in. First of all, Glocta is a 5-star character. I knew going into this that everyone was going to be right. Everyone who knows me said I was going to love Glocta, and they were absolutely spot on with that prediction, which surprises absolutely nobody. Glocta, hands down, is the best part of this book, in my opinion, as far as really nuanced, developed character work. Logan is a close second. However, there were some things at the end that I really kind of feel like came out of nowhere. The whole identity shift bit thrown in at the end kind of came out of left field for me, and I really struggled with the believability of that, especially since one of the things that I think I had a hard time with throughout this entire book is the use of foreshadowing and hints to kind of tell us what was coming next. And that's one of the things that you run into with a book that relies so heavily on character, but there's really not a lot of plot moving us through the story. And one of the things that caused, I think, in this book is that I didn't see things coming in a way that made those character reveals and events feel kind of like they were just thrown in. So, for example, Logan, at no point during the story did I get the sense that Logan Ninefingers and the Bloody Nine were kind of separate from each other. I'm not sure how I feel about that, because I'm really not sure where Abercrombie was intending to go with that, and now I also realize there are 2 more books in the trilogy, etc. So I'm sure there's more of that explained, but I'm not sure how I felt about that. And I loved Logan as a character outside of that. I actually found the side characters to be incredibly well done for the most part. My favorites were Artie West, who was an awesome character. And I also really loved Logan's motley crew of Northmen that were still up in the north when he was down in the south. And they became some of the chapters that I enjoyed reading the most. The other thing that kind of surprised me as far as character motives coming out of nowhere, Major West was a character that is probably the closest throughout the story to what we would consider a traditional hero, right? And then we get about to that 2/3 mark, and the moment of violence that he inflicts on Artie, I really felt that that was another character moment that kind of came out of nowhere based on the way that West had been built up to that point as a character. I didn't buy that he would go that far without anything leading up to it at all. I think that's something that I would have liked to have seen a hint of that kind of prior to that event, to kind of give us the idea that, yeah, like this is kind of an underlying thing that West has. Overall, I really loved Abercrombie's dialogue, especially Glocta, his scenes. And one of the things that is a little weird is I think because the world building wasn't as strong, the plot and the world building were a little bit more vague, it was harder to feel like, you know, the Northman story and Glocta in the city and Jezal and everybody were all in the same world. Like, I wasn't getting any of the connections there, and I recognize that they're very different cultures and places, but it was just so vague I had a hard time connecting all of the pieces into the same world. There were some scenes in this book that were incredibly hard-hitting that I thought were brilliantly written. One of my favorites through the entire book was actually the conversation that happens between Major West and Glocta toward the end of the book, where we get Glocta kind of releases some of that pain and tension and anger that he holds on to so heavily, because he says that things don't affect him and that he doesn't feel anything, but we as the reader know that that's not entirely true. Glocta in general, with also his two practicals, Frost and Severard, I loved the interactions between the three of them. I thought they were an awesome trio together. They were really funny. The humor, the dark humor that Abercrombie writes in this is really well done. 2 weeks from now, I will probably have more and will have been able to percolate on this book. I'm definitely going to be continuing the trilogy. I'm really curious to see where Abercrombie goes with some of these characters. Yeah, I would love to know if you're a fan of The First Law and The Blade itself. Please let me know down in the comments who your favorite character is, what parts you loved in this book. We finally did it. I'm excited to continue the series at some point. I know that the First Law trilogy is beloved by a lot of people, and I've heard so many people say that the subsequent books after the first three are even better in terms of characters and things and all of that. So I'm looking forward to it. Thank you so much for hanging out with me for this vlog. I hope you guys are reading 5-star reads. I hope you're having a great week, and I will see you all in the next video.